Welcome to this first webinar dedicated to empowering mission soil applicants. It's provided by the Soil Startup Initiative. Today, the session will be dedicated to 2025 funding opportunities and application proposal guidance. Very thank you for coming. Welcome again. Just a few information before starting. This session will be recorded and will be available, will be published on our website. You can ask questions during the webinar that will be then answered by the end of the meeting during the dedicated Q&A sessions. Just for your information, these slides are licensed, are protected by the following license. And now let's dive into what is expected during these sessions. I'm presenting myself. I am Lorenzo Labellarte from Soil Startup. We are dealing with this. We are leading these webinars for future applicants. We will have presentations from several speakers. First of all, Marilla from Soil Projects. Then we have these hosts from the DG Agriculture and Rural Development, Paola Eulalio, which will talk about mission soil overview, vision, objectives, and the 2025 funding opportunities to set up soil health living labs. Then we will have Maria Jose Amaral, which will talk about insight into 2023-2024 Living Labs proposals regarding trends and lessons learned. Maria Jose from the European Research Executive Agency. Then we will discuss of strengths, deficiencies, and opportunities for improvement of Living Labs proposal. This presentation will be led by Giulia Campotonico from Soil Project. And then we will have the engagement with soil, what to include in your proposal and budget, led by Aurora Agostinis. Then we will finish the session by this session by answering the Q&A. No specific questions will be addressed regarding individual proposals. And then I thank you again for coming, for joining, and I give the floor to our first presenter, Marilla. Thank you.
Hi, good morning, everyone. So indeed, I'm Marilla, and I'm part of the Annual Soil Coordination team. And today I'll be talking a little bit about what is soil and the soil support for applicants. So to provide a bit of context, there has been several EU-funded projects that have been laying the groundwork to support soil health living labs by developing many of their essential building blocks. And one of these initiatives was Nations, which is a project that concluded last year. And its goal was to foster a national engagement and prepare the ground for the launch of the EU mission, A Soil Deal for Europe. And building on this foundation laid by Nations, the Soil Project is where it comes into view. And it now continues with the work as the dedicated support structure for soil health living labs. Ultimately, what both projects, Nations and Soil, share in common is the achievement to support the mission A Soil Deal for Europe and the commitment to create 100 living labs and lighthouses by 2030. So the Soil Project offers a comprehensive support framework, which is based on different building blocks. First, we have the support and onboard of future applicants with guidance and tailored services. We also have to empower existing mission soil living labs by providing tools, training, and networking opportunities to enhance their impact and scalability. We also have the engagement of the wider soil health community by fostering connections, sharing best practices, and providing resources to support soil health initiatives beyond the mission-funded living labs. And then we also have a to foster a collaborative ecosystem that engages stakeholders to co-create solutions and address soil health challenges. But today we're going to focus on the support and onboard for future applicants, and that's why we're here in this webinar. So to move a little bit onwards with this support framework, SOIL is a framework partnership agreement that runs from 2024 to 2030, and it does so through several projects. So first we have SOIL Startup, then SOIL Step Up, and then SOIL Scale Up. And thanks to the multidisciplinary approach of the SOIL partnership, all the support actions are provided through 3 key themes, which are living labs, concepts and methods, soil technical themes, and any other transversal cross-cutting aspects that are necessary for the living lab growth and the deployment. So what does SOIL Startup offer? We have several building blocks, and these are the coordination and support, also training and capacity building, which is delivered through structured trainings, mentoring, and dedicated help desk service. We also have engagement and promotion, which is done through a Living Lab catalog and an atlas, targeted engagement events across Europe, tailored presentations, and a regular news updates. The other services include a monitoring and evaluation, which consists of a monitoring framework that is also completed with guidelines, reporting, and recommendations. We also offer knowledge sharing and networking opportunities that aim to exchange experiences with peers, participate in events, and join thematic working groups for deeper collaboration. And lastly, we have this Soil Hub, which is a digital platform where living labs and lighthouses can connect with the broader soil community, access a knowledge repository with a lot of resources, and use the matchmaking tools to find relevant partners and connections. So who does SOIL target to? We target the mission soil living labs and lighthouses, which are the ones funded under dedicated mission soil topics. We also target the European living labs and lighthouses, which refer to the more wider network of the European living labs and lighthouses that are fully aligned with the mission soil criteria, and we engage with them for network expansion. We also target the wider soil and living lab community. So this refers to any individual or organization at European and international level that is willing to collaborate with the soil living labs and lighthouses. We also target the emerging soil living labs and lighthouses, which are the potential and emerging initiatives, including on-the-ground experiments and pilot projects. And these are not yet fully aligned with the mission soil criteria. And lastly, we target the applicants of the mission soil. So these are the organizations and individuals interested in applying the mission soil. So today we're going to dive deeper into this applicants part. But before we dive into what SOIL actually offers for applicants, it is worth mentioning that there are several other initiatives, such as Nations, that offer resources that are already available. And from Nations, we can find the capacity building webinar series, which is a set of webinars that are recorded and available on their website. And they cover topics such as the Living Labs Essential, the governance and the business model, the core elements and specificities of the Living Labs topics, and etc. We also have from Nations these thematic events, which are dedicated to specific themes relevant for the mission soil. And we also offer the fact sheets, which are targeting the funding opportunities and also more specifics onto the different land use types. So now, based on this, SOIL Startup is building on this already existing knowledge by providing several types of support, and they are listed on the screen that you can see right now. And I'm going to dive deeper into each one of them. So as for the help desk and frequently asked questions, we have this FAQ that provides clear answers to your questions about the mission soil funding topics, on living labs and the proposal development aspects. We also have this help desk, which is a central support feature open to all applicants and is accessible through the SOIL Hub. And then we can also find some help desk guidelines that are available in the link on the screen. We also offer this mentors and coaching support. And here you can find national mentors that coach you in your local languages and guide you through the process. And just so you know, these mentors have been receiving some trainings to get more familiar with the Mission Soil, the Living Labs concept, the first funded Mission Soil Living Labs, and also more on the technical side of the evaluation criteria, the proposal application, and the annotated template. And through the QR on the screen, you can access who are the mentors of the Soil Startup, so this year's mentors. So we also offer a matchmaking opportunity, and this comes driving from this continuation of Nations to Soil. And this matchmaking platform is a tool to support consortia creation, find proposals to join, or identify potential partners to create proposals with. Moving onwards, we also have these thematic events, which are hybrid events that run on several topics where the Living Labs funding opportunities are presented and where participants can attend pitching sessions. And just so you know, the upcoming engagement event, it's titled From the Ground Up, Citizens Cultivating Soil Health, and it will take place on the 24th of June. We also offer a set of webinars for applicants, which are this webinar that we are right now in. It's part of this set of webinars. And today we're tackling a Soil Deal for Europe Mission 2025 funding opportunities and application proposal guidance, along with DG AGRI and REA. But the upcoming events, the upcoming webinars are taking place, first one on the 23rd of June, so next week. And this will be tackling the Living Labs proposals with the Mission Soil objectives and the soil monitoring law. And then we're going to have another one at the end of the month, which focuses on designing impactful living labs and consortia. And lastly, we have also a set of available resources, and this can consist of guidelines and recommendations to strengthen your application, templates, examples, and best practices from existing soil health living labs and lighthouses, and also fact sheets summarizing the key funding topics and the land use types. And these are also accessible through the Soil Hub that you'll learn a little bit more later. But also it's worth noticing that we recommend for you to browse the Mission Soil Living Labs catalog that you can also scan through the QR code on the screen. And I think that's about it from me.
Thank you very much, Mar, for this. Thank you. I will now give the floor to our host, Paola Eulalio, from from DG Agriculture and Rural Development. Please, Paola, thank you.
Hello, good morning, everyone. And thank you very much for the opportunity of being here today talking to you as part of this very important webinar. So I will give a very general overview of the Mission Soil and its living labs. And then I will also delve into more details about Work Program 25. Okay, so Mission Soil, of course, we know what Mission Soil is, but just to have an overall overview, this is not work, yes. So what is the Mission Soil and why we need a Mission Soil? We all know that soils are the basis of our nutrition, and not only for the nutrition, but they are also essential to provide many other ecosystem services, which are vital, which are key for our existence. And just to mention a few, as you see in the slide, we are talking about the hosting of biodiversity, the purifying and the regulation of water, the storing of carbon, very important, the recycling of nutrients, etc. So despite all these very important ecosystem services, we know that they are constantly threatened by sustainability challenges that are linked to human activities. And this is why it implies really a very urgent action, and I think it really clearly justifies the reason why we have a Mission Soil. So consider that the Mission Soil is one of the 5 missions funded by or under Horizon Europe. And it is particularly dedicated to, the Mission Soil is particularly dedicated to provide advice and fund projects. So it's a funding instrument to support this objective of the EU to get to or to achieve healthy soils by 2050. So with this introduction, we have to also understand that the mission soil is not working alone. It's really embedded in a wider context where there are other two important elements, which are the policy side and the data or knowledge reservoir side. So very quickly, from the policy point of view, the mission really plays a key role in supporting the soil monitoring law. It also supports several other policies, and I will only highlight the recent EU vision for agriculture and food, as the mission really responds to its 4 priority areas, which are the attractiveness of the farming sector, competitiveness, the connection, and the sustainability of our agricultural systems. So this said, also the mission soil, so as we say, the main, I think it went to, yes. So the main goal of the mission soil is really driving or leading this transition toward healthy soils. And this will be done by establishing 100 living labs and houses all over Europe. And we will see now in the next slides how we are really on track with this aim. And then this aim or this goal is backed up by 8 specific objectives, which are addressing, I would say, the main challenges we see on our lands, such as the desertification, pollution, erosion, loss of biodiversity, etc. And then the implementation of the mission soil is through 4 building blocks, or as we call them, operational objectives, which you can see also in the slide, which are namely the research program, so the research innovation program, the living labs and lighthouses concept and element, the soil monitoring, and also the communication, so soil literacy. And importantly also to remember that the mission soil is not only about agricultural lands, but all type of lands are also addressed, like forests, urban soils, natural, semi-natural lands, and industrial lands. And now, yes, now we go to more to the state of play of the mission. Where are we now with the mission? So from, I would say, since 2021, the mission soil has been funding projects that cover several areas of research, and this through consecutive work programs. So this is, the investment is also shown in the slide. So, so far, more than 400 million euros have been invested from the EU, so the EU contribution. And you can see that these areas that the mission is covering does not only addresses the specific objectives we just mentioned and the operational objectives we just mentioned, but also other cross-cutting dimensions which are reflected in other activities of the mission, and also here in through projects. And we refer specifically to, for instance, business models, business development, digitalization, the international dimension, so the cooperation with other continents, and the territorial aspect as well. So so if we look more into the portfolio of these projects, we see that we have already 50 projects that are running, and 13 more that will start operating very soon this year, which are the last ones funded under Work Program 24. Sorry. And so within these projects, we have 5 that are dedicated to the living labs per se, so the dedicated topics to living labs that are ongoing, and 4 more that will start. And altogether, this will gather 45 living labs to be really implemented this year. So as you see, we're happy to see that gradually the mission soil is covering all its objectives and closing the knowledge gaps and also bridging the knowledge with also the practice with policies and with implementation. So just to say that as the number of projects is increasing very fast, and it's important that projects really work and together, they exchange, they cooperate among them. There are important activities done within clusters of projects. There are 3 clusters ongoing, important to know, about data and knowledge, about the monitoring part, and also for communication, and 2 new ones that are starting on business models and pollution. So now I will give some insights about the living labs and the lighthouses themselves. So I think we all know by now what are living labs and lighthouses, but to summarize that they are really the main vehicle for addressing this diversity of conditions that we have on soil, and to be able to adapt that to locally context. So some points that are important to retain about living labs. They need to have real life sites within a living lab, or a living lab is formed by several real life sites. And there is where solutions are co-created and they are adapted to the local conditions. This happens at regional, sub-regional level, and it involves not only multiple sites, as I just said, but also multiple stakeholders to co-design, to test all these solutions. So all in all, we can say that they are user-centered, place-based, and really transdisciplinary ecosystems for research and innovation. The mission soil also defines lighthouses, which are individual sites of the living labs or outside the living labs. But they are characterized by the fact that they show an exemplary performance of an activity, so respect to one specific practice. And the importance that mission soil gives to these sites is that they are the best places to showcase best practices, the best places to demonstrate how to do things, to train, to communicate, and to help the dissemination of this knowledge that will help for the further or the faster adoption of the practices. So this said, we are now facing, or we're now within phase 2 of this gradual development scheme that we have for the mission soil. I can say that we're almost halfway to reach our objective of setting the 100 living labs by 2030. So in this phase 2, we expect to have in total more or less 60 living labs funded. And as you see, like a cumulative total of 85 living labs. So as I said before, now by 2025, we will reach the 45 living labs, and this leaves for the work program 25, 26, and 27, more or less half of them, 55. And now, yes, if I go to the work program, from work program 25, it's open for proposals, and the deadline is September 2025. There are, I will go to that later. So the total budget is around 120 million euros. And importantly for this audience is the fact that we will fund more, so as I said, more 20 living labs with this new work program. So we expect to fund around 4 to 5 living labs working on brownfields with this top-down topic that you can see on the screen, indicated on the screen, which will be to fund living labs to work on remediation and green redevelopment of brownfields. And then going to the other slide, we see that we have also a topic that is more, we call bottom-up, broader, that aims to fund living labs to really enhance soil health in different biogeographical regions. And these 3 biogeographical regions are chosen, really taking into consideration previous work programs and the already ongoing living labs, and trying to really fill the gaps and obtain a more balanced coverage of living labs across whole Europe by the end of the work of the mission soil, in fact. So as I said, sorry, I went too fast. So as I said, there is there are two different deadlines for these two topics, because one is a single stage, as you saw in this previous slide. If I can go back, this is a single stage topic, and then you have the two-stage topic, and they have different deadlines for application. If you need to, if you're interested to see the recording of the Mission Soil Info Days, we have put the link on the slide. So then, yes, if I describe, if I summarize the description of the Living Lab, of these two topics of Living Labs, I can start saying or expressing which are the common aspects between the two topics, because they are, of course, they have a lot in common, as they are the Living Lab topics. In general, what we expect is that they really set up 4 to 5 Living Labs, these topics, as I said before, with their multiple sites, as you can also see in the scheme, to work together on solutions that are locally adapted, and solutions that are common solutions to all these Living Labs, and that represent representative, let's say, soil health challenge for the place where they are operating. We will see in the next slide how that there are some differences, of course, between these two topics on the soil health challenges they will address. Important to mention that they have to justify which is the rationale or the mechanism for cooperation within and across these Living Labs, and why or how they will contribute to the mission objectives, or objective or objectives, depending on which mission objectives they will focus on. So the solutions that they co-create have to be adapted to the different conditions or contexts in which they operate, as I mentioned before. Important, Living Labs need to establish baselines, and they need to use correct or appropriate indicators that can be from the monitoring law or from the soil monitoring law or additional ones. And they have to really be relevant to allow for the assessment of these changes that we really envisage on soil health. They have to demonstrate which are really the technical and economical and social, environmental viability of the solutions. They need to propose also long-term sustainability plans to maintain these Living Labs beyond Horizon Europe funding, and there are several options to achieve this. And we also expect that this project identify which sites will be really performing in a very excellent way in order to convert into lighthouses, as we said before. And then there are other points that we think are important and are also common to both topics that are about the participatory process. So some Living Labs will just start with that, and some others will be in a more advanced stage, so they can already work on what is, or building what is existing. So that will depend on the type of Living Lab. And we also ask in these topics to think and to try to accommodate really the longer timescales that are required for both participatory process to establish, to be really working well, and also for the soil processes to take place and to see some changes, some evolution, some changes, yes, some differences, improvements, I would say. Last point is about the topics should, the projects should really dedicate tasks and time resources to collaborate with Soil L, and this will be or has been also mentioned. And all in all, just to summarize, I think that results of the projects should contribute to the expected outcomes that are mentioned in the topic text. But I mention them here in again. So we're talking about increased capacities to co-create, co-implement these economically viable solutions that will improve soil health in the places where Living Labs are operating. We are talking about the practice-oriented knowledge and tools to be really more available to land managers. And we're also talking about policymakers being more aware of the needs, including also the more economically sustainable solutions, and so that policies are better defined. So in my last slide, I want to a bit highlight that each topic has, of course, its specificity and its own requirements, which are, as I said, all explained in the topic text. But here I would like to highlight maybe most evident specificities. And when we go to topic 01, the one on the left-hand side of the slide, it's, as I said, it's a top-down topic. So it's on soil remediation and green redevelopment of brownfields. So as such, innovation solutions have to be, of course, on soil remediation and potential green redevelopment in brownfields. So please note about the definition of brownfields, which is given in topic text, and also note about the financial support to third-party option that is given to engage, to attract small actors. In this case, we talk about more land managers and landowners, and also SMEs or other civil society actors, with a maximum amount of grants per recipient of 200,000 euros. And when we go to the topic 01 of two-stage, so the one more bottom-up, based on their biogeographical regions that we mentioned in the topic, which are the continental, the boreal, and the alpine biogeographical regions. The projects under this topic have to propose soil health solutions relevant to the chosen biogeographical region. So how does it work? Each project has to indicate which biogeographical region they want to focus on. And importantly, they have to place the majority of their living labs in that biogeographical region. Then the remaining living labs can be located in other different biogeographical regions, not necessarily even the ones from indicated in the topic. So any other. Then this topic also allows for financial support to third parties, always to engage small actors in activities within one or more of the living labs, and or engaging small actors or their sites as well, so that their individual real life sites to work in these living labs. And the maximum amount of financial support in this case is 60,000 euros. Last point, but not least, also in this case, there is an expectation that the results of this project will improve soil health monitoring on the areas where living labs are developed. And this is all from my side. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Paula, for this presentation. Very clear, thank you. I will now go directly to our second speaker, representing European Research Executive Agency, Maria Jose Amaral. Maria, the floor is yours, please. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lorenzo. So I hope you can hear me well, and good morning to everyone. So I will focus on providing some insights in the 2023 and 2024 proposals, and some lessons learned from the evaluation. I will provide an overview of where we are in regards to the soil health living labs that are already planned to be set up or being set up by the previously funded projects. A little bit of an overview of what are the changes to the 2025 evaluation process, the modalities, and the proposal template, also following on these two evaluation modalities that Paula has already referenced for these topics. And then I will spend a little bit of time on the financial support to third parties, which is an issue that usually creates a lot of questions from the side of applicants. So just to clarify that my presentation is focused on the living lab topics of the past, 2023, 2024. There's been 2 topics per year, one bottom-up and one top-down topic with a more defined focus. And this what I will present is, of course, only relevant for these two topics in the mission soil related with the creation of living labs. So in regards to the 2024 proposals and just a comparison also against the 2023. So in 2024, we had a bottom-up topic and the urban topic. There were 63% increase on the proposals submitted to the both topics compared to 2023. Out of these 72 proposals submitted, 65 were eligible and 28% of them were declared as resubmissions from the previous topics. 4 were retained for funding. The quality of the proposals was not high in the bottom-up topic, with 57% being below threshold, and were a little bit better in the urban topic. Of course, as we had a higher number of proposals, both in the bottom-up and in the top-down or in the specific topic, the success rate compared to 2023 has diminished. In terms of applications, we received 1,734 applications from representing a 65% increase compared to 2023, and a 59% increase in the number of unique organizations involved. For the projects that were selected for funding, we are talking about 122 retained applications, and you have also the information per topic, of course, many more mobilized in the bottom-up topic. On average, proposals had 29 to 30 partners per proposal. This, of course, depends on also how the land managers and the landowners are being involved in the proposals, as directly as beneficiaries or other types of partners, or as future financial support to third parties. In terms of the proposed living labs, we had 343 proposed living labs. We have kept 20 in the proposals that are retained for funding, including 4 that are cross-border. Living labs were proposed in all member states, less, of course, in the smaller ones like Luxembourg and Cyprus, but also in Croatia and Bulgaria. There were less living labs proposed, and was a higher number in Spain, Italy, Greece, and France. But here, the number of Spain actually is also a bit overinflated by a single proposal that had a very high number of living labs all proposed in that country. There were 18 cross-border living labs. These usually were between living labs located in 2 to 4 countries. And there were 52 living labs in 11 associated countries and 12 living labs in 6 third countries. In terms of durations and land use of the proposals, so most proposals had an average duration of 52 months. We could detect that proposals with higher scores usually had a higher duration, and this reflects something that was discussed during the evaluation on the need to have time to both implement the participatory processes as well as follow the soil health improvements. In the retained proposals, this average was of 55.5. Most proposals were focusing on a single land use, with it being agricultural land use, and in general, out of all the proposals, 82% plan to work on agricultural lands and 35% in forestry lands, but usually in combination with other land uses. So we also looked at a little bit at the evaluation results of how the focus on the land uses influence the score. And while we didn't detect individually that proposals So we could have both proposals that were very good, focusing in more land uses or less. In general, the proposals that focused on 2 to 3 land uses were less successful than proposals that were focusing on a single land use. And this usually relates because they were able to explain better the focus, how the living labs were working together on a common selected soil health challenges. In terms of mission soil-specific objectives, 97% of the proposals clearly identified which mission soil-specific objectives were addressed. This is a significant improvement compared to 2023, where there were a significant number of proposals that were not even making the link with the mission soil and making the link with the specific objectives. 50% of the proposals address 4 to 6 objectives, with the majority addressing specific objective 4 on the soil pollution and enhancing restoration, 6 on to improve soil structure and enhance soil biodiversity, and 8 on the soil literacy. These are also particularly 6 and 8 more horizontal objectives that, by addressing one of the others, many proposals also inherently work on these ones. In terms of other lessons learned that can be summarized, and this also includes feedback that was collected from the experts that were involved in the evaluation after the process. So it's the core finding is that these proposals need to present this realistic combination of a limited selection of variables. And this is specifically for the bottom-up topic, because in the top-down, this focus is already defined. In the case of 2023 was on urban, and 2024, was on urban, and 2023 was on the climate farming. So many of the proposals that are failing are because they are trying to do too much over too many pedoclimatic conditions, land uses, or just trying to address all the mission objectives, and they lack a clear focus and a clear rationale for how the living labs that are proposed are working together on this selection of variables. On the side of the topic, the experts called for a greater focus on interdisciplinary stakeholder engagement and upscaling and transferability to boost adoption on the ground. And this has been our aspects that, for example, have been already fine-tuned in the topic that you have for 2025, but also important for you to keep thinking about these points when you are developing your proposals. Then it was felt that many of the applicants were not making the best use of the available capacity building material when there is already a significant amount provided by soil and in the past by Nashun's projects, that there was a need to link better project level objectives with the implementation on the ground and also on the living labs, and to provide a better and more clear information on the resources and roles of the different partners in the living labs, which is critical, of course, for the quality of the co-creation processes and the multi-actor approach. There was also a call for the Commission to improve the proposal template and to ensure that directly or indirectly we are providing further support to applicants. And here comes also this webinar and the work that SOIL is doing to support applicants. And as you will see after, we also made some tweaks in the proposal template to hopefully address some of the points that could be easily addressed. And then, because it's such a complex exercise, with the topic being highly complex and the evaluation process being highly complex, particularly for the bottom-up topic, where applicants have more liberty in choosing what are the variables that they are focusing on, there was a request for more time to revisit and check elements of the top proposals, and this also was kind of considered through the bringing of this two-stage evaluation procedure for the bottom-up topic. And then if I go to where we are in terms of the soil living labs that have already been set up. So we know that from 2023 and 2024, and this of course is what is planned by the projects to be addressed in the living labs, and during the actual implementation of the projects, during the actual implementation of the participatory processes, there can be refinements, of course, to what are the key soil health challenges that need to be addressed, because they start considering better the local context and per inherence also, which are the mission soil specific objectives that are covered. But we have, or we plan to have 32 living labs working on conserving and increasing organic carbon stocks, 31 on enhancing soil structure and biodiversity, and then very close also on erosion and improving soil literacy in society. In terms of countries where the living labs are based, and this includes also cross-border living labs, you have also a table summarizing what is the current distribution, which I will not go into detail, but it's there for your information. So when we move to 2025, based on all the learnings from 2023 and 2024, we really are trying to improve, to close gaps, to make sure the topic is clear to everyone. And we've worked with the colleagues in DG AGRI to ensure that the topic is more clearly perceived by everyone. We have also introduced, as I mentioned, and I will go through it now, a couple of tweaks in the evaluation process and in the proposal template to also facilitate a more to facilitate the process and to be able to evaluate all the proposals fairly. So in terms of the modalities, as Paula introduced the topics this year, we have two topics. One that is a single stage, the brownfields topic, and that follows the same process as in previous years, with the call evaluation deadline, applicants informed, and the preparation of the grant following in an 8-month period, more or less. But then we have the bottom-up topic in a 2-stage process. And this means that in the first stage, there will be an evaluation, there will be a shorter proposal, an evaluation, and then applicants are informed. And those that are more successful will be asked to submit a full proposal. So this will be much shorter process, and this is why also the proposal is shorter, the evaluation time is shorter, and at the second step, the applicants have to submit the full proposal. So this is summarized in this slide for the two topics. So as I mentioned, the brownfields topic, single stage, since the beginning, there will be a full proposal. You have to include the detailed budget table. There's a 45-page proposal, and if relevant, you can include the financial support to third parties annex. We are evaluating excellence, impact, and implementation, and the evaluation results are expected in mid-January, as the deadlines were already presented in Paula's slides towards end of September. In the case of the bottom-up topic, so this is now a 2-stage topic. So in the stage 1, you will be invited to submit a short proposal of 10 pages. There's no detailed budget table. There's no detailed work plan. In the stage 1, we focus the evaluation on the excellence section and in part of impact. And the first results are expected early December. Applicants do not receive, those invited to the second stage do not receive an evaluation summary result, but they will receive an overall feedback. And then those invited are invited to submit a full proposal, I think by February 2026, and which will be then evaluated as if it's a single stage. So we evaluate excellence, impact, and implementation, and the results are expected by end of May 2026. in terms of what we evaluate, so the proposals are evaluated always against the topic. So the topic is your first, so the proposal needs to be in the scope of the topic, both for excellence, impact, and implementation. And there are different sub-criteria that are considered, and the most important difference between the single, the two-stage, and the first stage, so the full proposals or the short proposals, is that we only assess partially the information, and likewise the template also only asks you for part of the information. And in this figure, what I've tried to summarize is the evaluation criteria, what do they relate with different parts of the proposal template, and the specific evaluation sub-criterion that are addressed. All the sub-criterion and all the criteria, of course, per extension, they are really connected with different parts of the proposal template. So it's important that you understand exactly what the proposal template is asking and how the proposal template is organized. In terms also of the evaluation process, something that should be kept in mind is that, of course, for the stage one of the two-stage procedure, the successful proposals need to have a threshold of 4 out of 5, both for excellence and impact, and only those that pass these thresholds and have as close as possible to 2 times the available topic budget will be invited for submitting a full proposal. So it means that a proposal might have an 8 as an overall score with 4 plus 4, so past this basic threshold. But if there are many more proposals that have higher scores, we will cap the proposals that are invited to the second stage within the 2 times available topic budget. And in terms of the single stage and two stage, here it's more the normal process with thresholds per each criterion and an overall threshold. But attention that this year for the topic, the bottom-up topic, we request that the threshold at excellence is a 4 out of 5 and that the overall threshold is a 12 out of 15. And this is related also because for the bottom-up topic, the one on the boreal, alpine, and continental living labs, grants will be awarded not only in the ordered or ranking, but also to ensure that at least one of each mentioned geographical regions is covered. This means that to ensure that we do pick among our proposals with a very high quality, we have introduced this new version of threshold. So we are sure that we will still be picking with proposals that had a very high quality. So I was asked also to briefly remind everyone what are the normal and applicable also to this topic, admissibility and eligibility conditions. And this is the first check that is done by the Commission when the proposals are submitted. So what we check is if they are submitted by the deadline in the submission system using the correct forms, that they are complete and contain all parts. So if there is if the work plan is not there, or if a specific section is not there, then this would make the proposal not complete. That they include a plan for the exploitation dissemination of results, or a draft plan, usually in the case of the proposal. They are readable and accessible, and here, very important, font size margins are respected. That they respect the page limits. In this case, if the proposals do not respect the page limits, what needs to be considered is that all these pages will be blanked out, so the evaluators will not see any other pages beyond the page limit, and that they are in scope of the topic. And then, of course, in terms of the eligibility, we look also that the consortium includes the minimum number of beneficiaries. So So I mentioned already that we did some adjustments to the proposal template, and for those that have already applied last year, you might remember that we introduced a table with key elements of the proposed living lab. So now this table has been further refined and drafted so that provides even more valuable information. It was considered very useful, but there were some questions that we saw that could be even more clearly made, and of course it was also adjusted to the topic. We also introduced, and this is for the full proposals, some slight refinements on the section of excellence to make more clear what we expect when you're talking about the interdisciplinarity, the SSH involvement, and the governance structures that will facilitate transdisciplinarity in the living labs at the living lab level. And on the quality and efficiency of the implementation, and this really to focus better the attention of applicants on the need to describe better the budget distribution between the proposed living labs and participants, to explain when there were substantial differences between the budget and the roles and the activities of the different partners in the proposed living labs. The same or a version of the changes were also implemented, of course, for the stage one proposals, the short proposals, but in this case, because we are focusing only on some elements in stage one, the number of questions is slightly reduced, and the changes on the other changes are only referring to those introduced in the excellence section. In terms of financial support to third parties, so first, financial support to third parties is not mandatory, it's just an option of the topic, and it's there to actively involve smaller actors in the living labs, which are crucial to achieve the objectives of the project and could not be easily engaged as beneficiaries or other type of partners. And I really want to stress the smaller actors and that would not be able to engage in as other type of partners. So it's not to bring research organizations or large companies. These ones, if they are needed for the project, they should be engaged since the beginning as full partners, as beneficiaries, associated partners, or other type of partnership that makes a deal, but should not be brought as financial support. The financial support is really to facilitate the involvement of the smaller actors. So who are we talking about with these smaller actors? Land managers and owners such as farmers, SMEs, or civil society organizations. We can do it for the 2025 proposals in the form of grants with or without a call for proposals. And we've seen that in 2020-24, 82% of the proposals plan to make use of the financial support to third parties, and the no-call option was used when the smaller actors were already identified because there were already ongoing participatory activities in some of the areas where the living labs were going to be implemented. Many times the option of no call and call was combined to bring additional actors when not all the sites that were going to be used in the living lab, that were going to be part of the living lab, were already identified. So there seems to be a good acceptance of the financial support to third parties instrument, but there is still a very varied understanding on the rationale and its correct implementation, and I will dedicate a little bit of my presentation to this. On average, the budget was of 1.2 million, with a minimum of 10% or an average of 10% of the budget being dedicated, and a maximum of 25.1. And and in 50% of the proposals, the financial support to third parties was to be distributed by the coordinator, but of course, the instrument allows that the budget is also distributed by other partners, and many projects or many proposals were also planning to have it distributed by the living lab manager in each living lab. So what were the common issues that we detected? There was a lack of clear alignment between project level objectives and the proposed recipients' activities of the financial support to third parties. There were no tasks in the work plan or very vaguely defined activities to implement this type of instrument. There were inconsistencies between what was written in some parts of the proposal and then what was included in the obligatory annex. There was a lack of specificity in the recipients with unclear selection and or evaluation criteria to identify and award them. The intended recipients or the roles they were expected to play, including the activities that they were carrying through the financial support to third parties and bringing to the project, were not clearly identified, and this led to ambiguity in understanding exactly how they would be engaged and what would be their role in the co-implementation and co-testing of soil health solutions. The calls for activities were not fully linked with the Living Labs activities, and they were more focused on dissemination, outreach, or specific support services. Many times the calls were not adequately planned, particularly in terms of timing, and they were actually too late to allow for an actual engagement in the Living Lab activities, or there were just too many calls, too little budget, or too small budget to be awarded for each recipient, which might make them not attractive to potential applicants and recipients of the financial support to third parties specifically. And then many times also the process of the organization of the financial support to third parties was too complex and just really adding a lot of complexity into the project overall. Where you need to include the financial support to third parties. So here we are talking about only the full proposals, because if you remember my first slides, in the stage 1 proposals, we don't have information on the budget. So when we do have this budget table, you have to include it in the specific category D1. And then, of course, in the section of the work plan, you should have one or more tasks to organize, manage the financial support to third parties. And then it's in the financial support to third parties annex that you should explain the objectives, the expected results, a close list of the activities that qualify for support, the type of persons or categories of persons that will be financed, the maximum budget per party, how information on the grants will become publicly available, and how the conditions specified on Annex B of the general annexes of Horizon Europe will be ensured. And this talks about transparency, equal treatment, conflict of interest, and confidentiality. And these are key, of course, for both types of financial support to third parties, with call and with no call. But some of these aspects are really crucial for the no call. So you need to show that those people, if you are using the no call option, you need to show that these people that you have already pre-selected, how they were pre-selected, on which conditions they have been selected in line with what are the objectives that you have for the Living Labs. The costs then of the financial support to third parties are declared as actual costs and need, of course, to comply with the general conditions of Horizon Europe. So in terms of the financial support to third parties annex, what we would like to see, what you should aim to provide in each of these bullet points on the objectives and expected results. You should define if it's a call, if it's a no call, and explain why this is needed for your project. You should identify what is the purpose. Why are you using the financial support to third parties? Is to add sites, is to bring new specific groups of actors for the co-creation process, and you should plan for their timing to allow an early involvement in the Living Lab activities. When we talk about a closed list of types of activities, we are talking about things as site management, implementation of solutions, the equipment, hourly rate, compensation for lost production, the time spent on project activities from sampling to awareness raising activities, or the time the small actors are participating in workshops or events of the project. Again, in terms of timeline, you should think about the number of years of expected involvement of the different actors. In types of persons. Yes, we are talking about the land managers, owners, such as farmers, SMEs, or civil society, and you should define for your project in terms of your project objectives and the activities that you are planned to have involvement, who are these people exactly. You should, of course, I already mentioned, no research, it's not for researchers, it's not for bigger actors, but you can think about it's for a farmer that has a farm with a certain typology, a certain number of hectares. This is what we expect to see explained. Sorry, now the slide is stopped moving. Now it moved too fast. Sorry.
We have less than a minute left, Maria Jose, please.
Yeah, so in terms of maximum budget, it should be calculated to ensure that the third parties have all the budget for the participation, and in publicly available, we talk about websites, news articles. And then I mentioned already before on the conditions specified in Annex B, really important that you demonstrate how these processes are going to be complied with these rules. There are other ways to involve smaller actors, from purchasing to subcontracting and also non-monetary. So you have here other ways also that you can think about in your projects to involve these smaller actors, even if you don't want to use financial support to third parties. And then we are revising the financial support to third-party questions and answers that were provided in previous years, so they will be soon republished for the 2025 topics. And I think that's all from my side.
Thank you, Maria Jose. Thank you very much for this. I will now give the floor directly to Giulia Campodonico from Enol. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. Many information have been already shared, and we are quite late in the program, so I will try to be brief. So as Maria Jose already presented, e-evaluation summary reports are the reports that all applicants receive when submitting the applications, and these are the documents guiding and giving feedback on the different three criteria of evaluation. What we did in SOIL was the evaluation of the 2024 application and evaluation summary reports based on the 2024 applications. We did that to support the mission SOIL applicants for 2025, because as my colleague Mark presented, we have this mandate to support you and continue the work of Nashun. And the analysis was really focused on identifying common strengths and deficiencies so that we can identify recurring patterns and guide the future application with a successful by design proposal. So this is what we did. We had an overview of the 65 eligible evaluation summary reports that were anonymized. So we had access to only very basic information that you can see here. So we saw which ones are the topics and the comments anonymized and cleared of any proposal, information, acronym, partner, output, or other that could help us identify the proposals. We only knew which proposal was above or below threshold, so we could not evaluate the specific criterion, knowing if that was over or below threshold specifically. But we have received specific guidance on the wording that was used, for example, ranging from excellent, very good, or good, which show the different levels of positive appreciation of the comments, or from minor shortcomings to significant weakness, showing the different level of negative comments. From this, what we did is we had a human-based first analysis, identifying the terminology and identifying which common aspects, common trends were really identified from the across the different appreciation levels. And this was first done manually and then with, of course, some AI support, which was anyway difficult, and so manual was still the best. From this, we derived an overview of the most recurring excellent appreciation or not appreciation parts. For the excellence criterion, what we saw is that it was really appreciated when there was a proper justification of soil health challenges, land use, or pedoclimatic context that was justified, but also tailored to the specific and local needs, to the objectives that were selected, and so on. For this, we recommend to have a look also at the Q&A, because we have provided some documents besides the mission implementation plan that can help you from the PEP Soil project understand specific soil health challenges, needs that have been identified in your region. In parallel, was really appreciated the rationale for selecting the living labs, meaning that the 4 to 5 living labs were not just selected because their interest in working on the proposal, but a clear explanation of why they are working together, how they are working together, coordinating their work and linking the different work to the specific soil challenges that was, and general objective or policy priorities that the entire project was addressing. This is something that was really welcome, also because it really helped identifying a harmonized methodological framework into which the different living labs were operating, and therefore allowing them to really work together and compare data, compare progresses, share information, knowledge exchange, and collective learning. This is a really important part, and also was requested in the Q&A. And as a counterpart, the weaknesses, the significant weaknesses that were noted were indeed where there was no preliminary analysis of the soil health challenges in the region, or when the criteria for selecting the living labs all across Europe or for bringing them together was vague or absent, or the complementarity between the living labs were not demonstrated or justified. Then it was also another negative aspect was when the different types of knowledges at project level or within the living labs were not considered properly. Looking at impact was really appreciated when there were structured and credible impact pathways. So also considering how the project and the living labs themselves were really contributing to impacts beyond the duration of the project in alignment with the mission long-term impacts. But also when external barriers were considered, this was really welcome. So there was no shame in identifying existing barriers. In parallel, what was not appreciated was when there were no sustained, the claimed impacts were not supported by specific strategies, or when the logic was not credible, or sometimes overestimated or underestimated, or when barriers were maybe identified, but still mitigation mechanism or adaptive mechanism were not considered. Finally, on the implementation, getting there. For the implementation, what was important and really appreciated was the clear structured work plan, where the work packages, the tasks, the deliverable, the milestones had a logical sequencing, but also that was connected with the previous sections, with the methodology and the goals that were identified in the previous areas, and where dedicated tasks and actions were dedicated to support the coordination across the living labs. So this is an important, and again, it's a recurring path on how the living labs needs to demonstrate that they work together and are coordinated in the project. Of course, also where the engagement or activities were with soil and the wider mission context was considered was really a positive aspect. And in parallel, an important point is when there were negative aspects was when there was not enough explanation on how the living labs were working together, but also when they had disaligned schedules at local level. For example, Living Lab 1 delivering some moments and Living Lab 2 delivering another moment, so not supporting the knowledge sharing because of the different readiness level of the information to be shared. And another part is related to the consortium, so the final part of the proposals, when the partner roles were not justified in the projects or in the living labs, and their staff time and effort was not sufficient in response to the responsibilities and activities that were provided. So these were really the recurring points that we recommend you to pay attention to. And
thank you, Giulia. Thank you very much for this. Very interesting. I think it will be very useful for applicants, for future applicants. I now give the floor to Aurora Agostinis. Thank you. Please, Aurora.
Hello, everyone, and it's a pleasure to have you here all today. I'm Aurora Agostinis. I'm part of the soil coordination team, and with this presentation, I will walk you through the key activities and services for soil for mission soil living labs that needs to be considered in your application. So this will help you understand what kind of collaboration will be expected if your proposal will be successful, and what to already plan in terms of resources and commitment at the application stage. So I would like to start by saying that both Mission Soil Living Lab topics explicitly mention in their topic text the need to collaborate with soil, as you can see in the slide. So applicants are expected to dedicate some resources to this collaboration, not only during the implementation of the project, but also when they're preparing their proposal. And actually, I just want to also mention here that when we refer to Mission Soil Living Labs, we refer only to living labs established within these two topics that you can see here in the slide. So any other living labs established in the frame of the Mission Soil, so for example, also the living lab that are established through the Africa and Latin American and Caribbean topic, they're not considered Mission Soil living labs, but of course they can benefit of different services from soil. So if and once your proposal is awarded, you will gain access to a broad service of services and activities as a Mission Soil Living Lab. So this will go beyond the initial support offered through the proposal preparation as an applicant, and are designed to support you in growing and strengthening your living lab during your project implementation. As presented before by my colleague Mar, these are the 6 macro activities of soil, which include multiple services and are offered to support Mission Soil Living Labs. Now we will delve into the specific activities you will need to take into account in your proposal, since you will be invited or in some cases requested to participate. Therefore, you will need to consider in your proposal some personal cost and time to dedicate to these activities, as well as some budget for travel costs. We will not focus, of course, on all the different activities and services we provide in soil, as this is not relevant in the context of your proposal preparation. But of course, if you want to learn more about the other activities and other support action we provide in soil, you can check our website, the Soil Hub, or of course, follow us on our social media channels. So for what concerns coordination and support activities, once the project is awarded, each living lab will be requested to complete an onboarding survey, where you will be requested to provide some initial information about your living lab. So for example, the address, the land use types, the targeted mission specific objectives, the number of potential lighthouses, and so on, as well as also the key contacts of each living lab. And this is of course crucial, since it will build the official database of Mission Soil Living Labs. So of course, you will need to plan some time needed to complete this onboarding survey accurately. And actually, the information collected through the onboarding survey will feed into the Mission Soil Living Lab catalog. That is a public-facing tool showcasing all the living lab funded under the Mission Soil, so the Mission Soil Living Labs. So this will be your first opportunity to present your living lab to the world. So you need to allocate enough time to carry out this onboarding survey. And here you can see also the map that is present in the catalog, showcasing the first 45 living labs funded under the Mission Soil. Continuing with the engagement and promotion activities, Mission Soil Living Labs are also expected to attend some key events, such as this Soil Annual Engagement event, which is an annual gathering of all Mission Soil Living Labs designed to welcome the new waves of living labs and lighthouses, and provide a platform for each of them to present their goals, share their achievement and lessons learned, and of course to collect with the peers. And actually this is usually organized alongside the European Mission Soil Week, realistic also to save some travel budget. And more in general, you will also be invited to participate and present in other soil events, or also European conferences or European events, or also other project events, to give you the opportunity to present and showcase your Living Lab and your activities. So for these activities, of course, you will need to budget for both travel costs and personal time for the participation. For what concerns then capacity building activities among the different services we offer, particularly important for you to consider in your proposal are the online group trainings and the in-person bootcamps. There will be actually approximately 6 online sessions per year focusing on different topics with the aim to support the growth of your Living Lab. So you will, of course, have to consider to allocate enough time for them, while the bootcamps will focus on common interest areas and cross-cutting teams and will happen annually and in person. We will organize them alongside the Open Living Lab Days, annual conference that is gathering all Living Labs from the world, actually. So therefore, you will have to include in your proposal both personal and travel costs for this activity. Moving forward, we also coordinate knowledge sharing and networking activities with the aim to foster collaboration, knowledge exchange, and mutual learning across the Mission Soil Living Lab and actually also beyond. So among the activities you will be invited to participate in, there are the site visits, which enables Living Lab to visit other Living Labs on site, other knowledge exchange activities, and the participation in soil working groups. And again, your proposal here should reflect the human resources and the travel budget needed to join these activities. Then we have the monitoring and evaluation. So it plays actually a pivotal role in ensuring that the Living Labs and also the lighthouses can assess their progress, share the insights, and also continuously improving their approaches. So as part of this effort, Soil Startup has designed this monitoring and evaluation framework to provide a structured and effective evaluation process for both Living Labs and lighthouses. So as also presented before, we have created some set of guidelines to guide you through the monitoring and evaluation framework. We provided this annual evaluation of the progress and the state of art of both Living Labs and lighthouses, some reports including the results of the monitoring to the mission soil, and of course a set of recommendation and point of improvement for both the Living Labs but also the wider network. Here, the monitoring and evaluation exercise is important to say that is mandatory, and it will take place annually during the first quarter of each year. And here, the Living Labs will be requested to report on their activities and progress in a qualitative and a quantitative self-assessment survey. So this requires, of course, dedicated time and personal costs, and it will include actually all the partners involved in the Living Lab. And finally, we have developed this Soil Hub, a one-stop shop collaborative platform that is connecting Mission Soil Living Labs and lighthouses, the broader Mission Soil network, applicants, and stakeholders working on soil-related issues and many more. And among the different features available on the hub in the context of this presentation, it's important to mention the Living Lab pages, which is a kind of an online profile of your Living Lab, which will be needed to be updated by the Living Lab itself at least annually, better if in the context of the monitoring and evaluation process. Therefore, the necessary time, again, must be considered for this activity. And the Living Lab pages actually will feed into the Living Lab Atlas, which is this interactive map on the hub showing all the Mission Soil Living Lab at the houses, and actually from next year also other label European Soil Living Lab and lighthouses. And for what concerns collaboration space, this aims, of course, to support knowledge sharing and informal exchanges across the community, primarily thanks to the feed, the chat, and the group features. So to conclude, of course, it's important that you plan to actively manage your presence on the Soil Hub. Here you have just a brief summary of the online activities we've just discussed for you to revise later on. The timing of each of them and also the frequency of each of them, the team foreseen to participate in it, and therefore also the personnel cost to be considered in your proposal. And then we have also the overview of the in-person activities, so annual engagement event, boot camps, and peer exchanges, their expected timings and their frequency, and also the budget effort to be considered in your proposal. So since all of this will involve traveling to different locations, it's important to allocate, of course, some travel budget in your proposal for them. And for what concerns specifically also the site visit, in this case, it's also important to mention that should the Living Lab volunteer volunteer to host the site visits. Of course, some purchase costs should be allocated to co-organize the activities, but of course with the support of soil. And lastly, we have developed these community management guidelines, which will for sure help you prepare your application. This document provides a clear overview of the key steps that each Mission Soil Living Lab will be asked to follow, both at the start of the project and also throughout the implementation of the project. And these guidelines will walk you through what happens after your project has been awarded. So you will find more information about the onboarding survey that I presented before, how to coordinate the presentation of soil in your project, the participation in trainings and events, and many more activities. And you can find here in the QR code in the slide these important guidelines. And for this, I think my time is it's up. So thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Aurora. Thank you very much for this presentation. And this is what Soil Startup is giving to you and is supporting you. Now let's dive into our Q&A sessions, which will be moderated by Dolinda Cavallo. Please, Dolinda, jump in.
Yeah, so we have actually, we were reviewing all the questions that you have shared in the Q&A box, and we have mainly responded to all of them. We are finalizing some questions, so I guess we don't have the time to, let's say, address additional questions, but we will for sure answer the ones received in the Q&A. And we still invite you to share, any other additional question in the help desk that you can access from the hub. So again, you can see now the link in the chat. And also, so this is the help desk provided by Soil, and also there is the help desk for the that you can find in the European Commission website that you can access and share your questions. So I think unless and other information from my colleagues, we can directly move to the conclusions.
Okay, let's now conclude this webinar.
Just a second, I think Julia, you want to maybe intervene?
No, it's just to mention that, of course, the unanswered questions, because we are answering live to the questions in the chat. Some of the questions are still waiting for an answer. If we don't manage before the closure of the webinar, this will be included in the FAQ of Soil. So you will be able to find the answer in Soil FAQs. For finding the website, please find the information in the chat so that you can find there.
All right, thank you so much, Julia, for this info. Now, just before closing, remember to create your profile on our Soil Hub. People are contacting us already saying that they are already registering. Thank you for this. You can here meet the Soil Hub users and have also matchmaking conversations and stuff. What's next? So, as you know, this is not the end. We will have other 2 webinars. The following will be on the 23rd of June, same at the same time, 11:30, and we will give an overview on aligning 2025 Living Labs proposal with mission objective and soil monitoring law. So we will discuss about the mission soil in the EU policy landscape with key objective and targets, the soil monitoring law, which is pretty relevant for the mission, and insights from Mission Soil Living Labs. And then we will have our last webinar on the 30th of June, and it will be focused on designing impactful living labs and consortiums. This will be very helpful in given the foreseen calls, and we will dive into what is a living lab, key concepts and approaches, how to best create a consortium, and again, experiences from already funded living labs. So I thank you very much for your time and for joining this webinar. Now I leave here the feedback form that I kindly ask you to please fill in, and this will help us a lot to provide a better support to all applicants and also better training and webinars opportunity. So thank you so much to everybody. We can close here, and let's meet soon. I hope you will all be there on the 23rd. Bye bye. Thank you.